The first time I heard my wife say his name, I felt something inside me snap. It wasn't loud. It wasn't shouted. It wasn't even directed at me. It was a casual slip, drifting out of her lips while she spoke on the phone late at night. But it was enough. "You know Brandon." That was all I caught before her voice dropped to a whisper, muffled behind the bedroom door. I sat there on the couch, the TV flickering muted images in the dark, and stared at the thin crack of light under our bedroom door. My heart pounded in my chest, heavier than any sound in the room. My first instinct was denial. Brandon could be anyone. Coworker, friend, someone she bumped into. But I already knew. Somewhere deep inside I already knew. And that's when I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened my phone, pulled up the voice recorder, and hit record. I didn't barge in. I didn't demand answers. I just sat in silence, phone in hand, waiting, listening, for the truth I was terrified to hear. The cracks in the glass. My wife, Emily, and I had been married for 7 years. We had what people called a comfortable marriage. Shared routines, weekend brunches, the occasional vacation when work allowed. Nothing spectacular but steady. Or so I thought. Over the past few months, I'd started noticing changes. Little things easy to dismiss at first. She lingered in front of the mirror longer than usual. Her phone, once left carelessly on the counter, now lived in her pocket or face down on the nightstand. Late-night work calls stretched past midnight. I asked her about it once, a simple, "Hey, everything okay?" She smiled too quickly. "Yeah, just work. You know how it is." I wanted to believe her. God, I chose to believe her. Because believing otherwise would mean admitting that the woman I had built my life with might be living a lie. The recording. That night, I sat frozen on the couch, every muscle tight, straining to catch her words. "I can't, he's right in the other room." Then soft laughter. "No, he doesn't suspect a thing." My throat dried out. The room seemed to tilt. She was talking about me. Every second of that recording drove nails deeper into my chest. I couldn't hear him, but her side was enough. The playful tone in her voice, the way she sighed when she said his name again. Brandon, like it was sugar melting on her tongue. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear, recording everything. Not because I wanted to, but because I knew if I confronted her now, she'd deny it. She'd twist it. She'd make me feel like I was crazy. I needed proof. Seeds of doubt. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. She kissed me on the cheek, poured coffee, scrolled her phone while humming under her breath. I stared at her across the table, wondering how many lies had been tucked into her smiles, how many late nights at the office had really been stolen hours with him. Long day ahead. Asked casually. "Yeah," she said, sipping her coffee. "A client meeting. Might be home late again." I nodded, masking the storm inside me. She didn't notice the way my hand tightened around my mug, or maybe she didn't care. That day at work, I played the recording over and over until the words carved themselves into me. "No, he doesn't suspect a thing." She was wrong. I did. Digging deeper. Over the next week, I became someone I barely recognized. I started checking her phone when she showered, memorizing her passcode. I found texts, short, careful but damning. "Last night was perfect. Can't wait to see you again." He's still clueless. Each word was a knife. Brandon wasn't just anyone. He was her coworker. I'd met him once at a holiday party. A tall guy with an easy smile and a handshake that lingered too long when he introduced himself to Emily. I'd thought nothing of it. Now his name felt like poison. The breaking point. The following Friday, she dressed up more than usual. A little black dress, her favorite perfume, lipstick she rarely wore for me anymore. "Client dinner," she said when I asked. I smiled, but inside something finally broke. As she left, I whispered to myself, "Not tonight." Followed her. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight I thought it would crack. She drove across town. Not to a restaurant, not to the office, but to a small boutique hotel tucked behind a row of trees. I watched her step out of the car, her heels clicking against the pavement. And then he appeared, Brandon. smiling, waiting. She walked straight into his arms, like she'd done it 100 times before. I didn't need the recording anymore. I didn't need the texts. The sight of her lips pressing against his was enough to hollow me out completely. The confrontation. I didn't storm over. I didn't scream. I drove home in silence, my mind spinning, my chest tight with a pain I couldn't name. When she walked in hours later, her hair tousled, cheeks flushed, I was waiting. "How was the client dinner?" I asked. She froze just for a second, then smiled. "It went well. Why are you still up?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt a wave of disgust so strong it almost knocked me over. "Emily," I said quietly. "You know Brandon." Her eyes widened. Just a flicker, but enough. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and hit play. Her voice filled the room. "No, he doesn't suspect a thing." She went pale. "Do you have anything to say?" I asked, my voice steady though my hands trembled. For a moment, silence stretched between us. Then she whispered, "It's not what you think." I laughed, bitter and broken. "It's exactly what I think." The shattering. What followed wasn't a fight. It wasn't even an argument. It was a quiet unraveling. She tried to explain how she felt lonely, how Brandon made her feel seen, how it just happened. Each excuse was another weight pressing me down. "You could have talked to me," I said, my voice raw. "Instead you lied. You betrayed me in my own home." Tears slipped down her face, but I felt nothing. No urge to comfort her. No instinct to forgive. Just emptiness. "You destroyed us," I whispered. "And for what?" "Him." She reached for me, but I stepped back. That tiny motion, me refusing her touch, seemed to break her more than my words ever could. End of us. The next morning I packed a bag. I didn't yell. I didn't slam doors. I just left. As I walked out, she stood in the kitchen, silent, tears streaking down her cheeks. "Please," she said softly. "We can fix this." I shook my head. "Some things don't get fixed, Emily. Some things just break." And with that, I walked out of the life we had built, carrying nothing but my bag and the weight of betrayal. It's been months since that night, and I still hear her voice sometimes. "You know Brandon?" Like a ghost in the walls. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust again. Betrayal leaves scars you can't see, wounds that don't close. But I do know this, I survived it. And when I pressed record that night, I didn't just capture her lies. I captured the moment my old life ended, and a new one began. Because sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. It burns you down to ashes. But from ashes you can rebuild. And I will.